But the point remains, that's a crazy double standard, and it's super weird to me that one person can make 57 million and another person you're trying to cancel them. Welcome back to another episode of Aren't You Glad I Said It podcast. I'm your host, Brendan, back with another video. And I just want to thank everybody for all the love and support so far, man. You guys have been absolutely awesome. And, we had some great videos. Last time we had Derek on the show. This time it's going to be just a solo episode, so it's going to be a little shorter. But there are just some things that I wanted to address on my own here. Just, some stuff going on, and I figured we chat about it. So let's hop right into it. So if you guys have noticed, there is something going on with Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish. Apparently what the story is, if you haven't seen the video, because I know it's censored from a lot of locations, rightfully so, Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish apparently, as the story goes, was trying to gain a Nickelodeon contract. And so in doing so, they decided to make a comedy sketch / PSA. This topic is not necessarily the topic I want to talk about, but it opens it up for a bigger discussion I think has to be had. So I'll just explain the video quickly. I'm not going to show it because it's like too censored and it's not necessary for anyone to see this, honestly. So the video consists of Aries Spears is the pedophile uncle. It's the role he's playing. Tiffany Haddish is the unassuming mother. And then there's a child. I think he's about 10 years old. He looks in the video, 10, 11, whatever, something like that. So the video basically is they're in the living room. Aries Spears is over playing the uncle, and the mom, Tiffany Haddish, decides to leave the uncle to watch the boy. So in doing so, she leaves him with this guy, and he starts leering at the boy who's playing with his toys in the living room in his underwear, right? Unassuming, of course. It's like the boy and the mom, Tiffany Haddish, are completely out of touch with what the uncle might have intended, in terms of intentions. So he's playing with them. There's a scene where he's peering over the newspaper, looking, cuts holes in the newspaper, starts staring at the boy playing in his underwear. Then go to another scene. They're in the bathroom, and she does the same thing. She's like, "Hey, can you watch him for a while?" He sits on the tub. He makes a Sandusky reference, which, if you guys know anything about people who have been involved in these acts before, they talk about, this is someone who's been involved in that sort of act. So they mention him as, I guess, part of like the comical lore. And so he accidentally falls in the tub in the scene. I imagine the kid does have underwear like the previous scene. Then you have the last scene is like a kitchen scene. And at one point, Aries Spears at some point rubs lotion on the kid, and then the kid reverses it and rubs lotion on him, right? Just like on his back or something like that. Overall though, the video, and at the end of the video, and this is important to say, I think, at the end of the video, a PSA pops up and says, "Be careful who you leave your children with." Now, I say all that to say, number one, just my take on this video and this topic. It was just unnecessary. It was just unnecessary for them to produce this content. Not only was it unnecessary, it wasn't done properly. Like, I have no problem with someone creating a PSA for awareness for a topic that I think is sorely needed, not only in the world, but in the Black community specifically. However, this was done inappropriately in terms of the script was terrible, the camera, the casting of a child, all this stuff. It was all terrible, right? It was all ridiculous. Now, let's move past that and let's say, okay, they did it, whatever. I think people online, what I've seen on social media, there is a big push for people saying how this is disgusting and gross. I don't necessarily see it as like purely disgusting and gross. Just from an artistic point of view, I feel like I get what they were trying to do while I'm not condoning it. I think there was an ulterior motive, right? And even put in the PSA, and maybe it might have landed better with the PSA at the beginning, so that people understand this is less about comedy and it's more about the PSA. Because in my opinion, I think it wasn't as funny because they truly seemed like they were trying to get the PSA part of it out, right? And then in doing so, that comedy is a way to reach people of all audiences and make a subject more lighthearted than how dark and dangerous it is, right? Because that's a subject that really hits the heartstrings of a lot of people, from having experienced it or having family members that experienced it. So I don't think you can tackle this with just like a super light touch. You don't want to make it seem like you don't care too much, and you don't want to overburden people to where they feel like they're reliving moments. And I even saw comments on both ends of that spectrum, right? So I think it's also important to know that when you're creating art, everyone's just not going to be happy with the art that you create, right? It doesn't always make it a right and wrong situation. It's the art that you decided to produce. Another aspect of it that I think is really important, because now apparently there's like a lawsuit going on with the parent. They're trying to say that the kids were like sexualized, etc. I don't know all the details, so I won't wildly speculate, but what I will say is, if a parent signs up to allow their children to be involved in a project like this, I hope there was some sort of supervision on the set, that they knew everything that was going to occur in the script. Would I personally allow my child to be in this? Absolutely not. It's not something that I want to be engaged in. But then again, as much as like movies and acting, I don't think I would want my family, children, or spouse to be involved in most acting situations, right? Because simulating something can sometimes rear its head in other points in your life. It's kind of like, I think it's LSD, that you take it, and then years down the line, you can have like not a hot flash, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like a flashback. If not, look it up. Either way. So I think it's something to be said about, it is an art form to attempt to produce something like that. But I just think they missed it at every point. It wasn't funny. The PSA wasn't centered enough, so we know this is more serious. The script was terrible. The acting was like, that's the best way to describe Aries and Tiffany. They only had a few lines, but it didn't hit right. It felt like a Key and Peele episode. No offense to Peele's ability to write movies. I think he's phenomenal in that, but in terms of their sketches, they're really cringy for me. But this was cringy on another level. But it opens up another topic that I want to talk about, and this is the real meat of it, because for me, it allows us to speak about a double standard. And I actually want to pull this up because I don't want to get this number incorrect. I had saved it somewhere here on the tab. Here we go. Forgive me, guys. I just need to pull this up to make sure we have it right. So, I don't know how many of you know this, but there is a movie. And this movie is called That's My Boy. It's by Adam Sandler. And in the movie, Adam Sandler decides that he wants to make a movie about a boy who is in school. And I'm trying to find the age so we're clear on the age. Anyway, I can't find it here, but essentially, Adam Sandler plays a boy in like 5th or 6th grade, something like that, right? He's not older than middle school. And while he's in school, he has a teacher who he finds she's attractive, right? And so the premise is, he finds his teacher attractive. Turns out she finds him attractive. They end up having sex. There's even a scene where they're in a school auditorium, and that's when they get caught, right? They're having sex on like the piano or whatever in the background, and the whole auditorium hears it. Now, this brings up two double standards that I want to address. And the first and most important to me is, it seems like there's a crazy double standard because this movie grossed $57.7 million, and Netflix has recently brought it to the platform. So it's on multiple streaming platforms that you can find. And it's the exact same storyline as what we just talked about in Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish's video, except on a movie production scale. So we have millions of dollars backing this production. Now, the big double standard is that in this scenario, it's a grown woman accosting a boy or taking advantage of this boy. Now, I didn't see, when this movie originally came out, a bunch of people claiming that this was disgusting or gross or it was a lot of this and that. I didn't see anything like that. And the fact that it made $57 million is proof that people actually enjoyed it. And the fact that they're bringing it to streaming platforms again for another tour, this is very telling of how society views men and women. Now, it's just very, 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 very creepy to me that we have a standard that can exist where women can sleep with men and it's just kind of brushed off. In true, I've heard men say, oh, if I had a cute teacher or whatever, I would have slept with her. Listen, to not understand that you're being abused or taken advantage of, that's a personal choice. But if my child, middle school and under, told me that he had sex with a teacher, and then even a little older, but definitely middle school and under, told me he had sex with a teacher, I'm pressing charges. Male or female child, male or female teacher, I don't care how you match them up, right? Put them together how you want, like a jigsaw puzzle. But just know that if sexual acts occur with this person who's an adult and my child, that's a huge red flag. And no, there's no way that's going down. So in this movie, that's what it is. And in fact, he becomes glorified, right? Adam Sandler's character becomes famous and heroic and heralded as this guy who achieves something that is every boy's dream, right? It's such a weird concept that gets promoted. And I think Netflix just put it out on their platform like a couple months ago. So I think it's super ironic timing that now we're upset with Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish for making this, where we have a movie that existed. And I think, when did this movie come out? Because, right, that's even crazier, because it came out in 2012. It's 2022. So 10 years ago, this movie came out, and nothing, not a peep from activists and people canceling Adam Sandler. I don't know how many movies he's made to date. And I'm not saying Adam Sandler's not funny. I'm saying this concept in this movie, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's on the same level, except Hollywood production. So they had a good script. They had areas to make you laugh, lighten the mood, different things like that. And so I think it made us take a topic and view it a little bit as it's not bad. Also, he reversed the roles of the genders. Well, not reverse roles, but instead of a creepy man, he made it a woman who's pretty, right? I guess if you watch the movie, she's pretty, beautiful, whatever you want to call her. She's not bad looking. So by doing that, it kind of made the scenario better, right? When Aries Spears in the video, if you watch it, he's like a frumpy, overweight, disgusting looking uncle, right? Just real creep factor. So in this instance, he made the boy cool, and that's my boy, and he made the teacher hot. And so this hit well. Now, remember what I said about artistic expression, because I think it's not that this movie shouldn't be expressed. I think it's just weird that he was heralded as if he was a savior to boys and men everywhere. And the teacher, yeah, she did go to jail. So there is a quote, a PSA in that, is that if you do this and break the law, you end up in jail. But they made it lighthearted as if it's not that bad. I digress. It's a double standard that I see far too often. I see women tell little boys that, hey, that's my little boyfriend. And it's weird, because if guys said that to somebody's little girl, we'd be in the same boat of like somebody would want to fight, because you don't say that to people's daughters. Like, you don't. If a guy said that to my daughter, I'm tripping. But if a woman said that to my son, I'd be like, nah, he ain't your little boyfriend. He ain't your little man. He ain't your little, this is a boy. This is a child. This is my son. Treat him as such. Now, if they date when they get older, I don't have to agree with it, but you're an adult, so do what you want. But the point remains, that's a crazy double standard, and it's super weird to me that one person can make 57 million and another person you're trying to cancel them. But could it be that Aries Spears said this on the cusp of, or after making the comments about Lizzo, and now people want to just cancel him for fat shaming? Now, he may have said some things I wouldn't have said. However, I think it's important to note that this cancel culture is really weird, and it's picky and choosy. And so I think it's tough, and we need to evaluate how we choose to cancel someone, because technically they made a PSA video, warranted. I can't condone this. However, that's what they made, versus a movie that condoned it all the way, except for her going to jail as a punishment for the crime, which they even made that lighthearted. So I think it's a weird double standard. Second double standard, and this one to be brief. Is it possibly a race thing, where we can cancel a black person for comments or things that we do versus a white person not getting canceled as quickly? Because I've yet to see someone bring up the "that's my boy" comparison. As far as I know, I'm the only person who's brought it to a platform where we can talk about it, because it's the exact same scenario essentially, except, creepy old man, hot older woman. To me, it's the same thing. The act is the problem. The act is the problem, and that's what we need to highlight in this situation. But I think we see it far too often, where actors or black actors kind of get held to a ridiculous standard. Go back to the Kevin Hart tweets or whatever posts he made. And I don't even like Kevin Hart, so I'm not here trying to defend this guy and his actions or the things he said. But I think it's important to note, if someone says something in comedic context, it doesn't absolve them of the sin, so to speak. But I think it's important to understand the art form and the context in which it was said. I don't think he said what he said about, a certain community in a negative light. However, it lost him his job in hosting a award show that he wanted to do all his life. Now, it becomes a big problem to me to crush somebody's dreams based over something they did also years and years and years and years ago in the past, right? We have to be fair and say that people can change over time and people learn and grow from their mistakes, because I can't say how many positive things he said about the same community since then. And this is prior to us raking him over the coals, them raking him over the coals. He had already begun speaking out in defense of them prior to that and saying things that uplifted them rather than put them down. So this is super weird to me that we have a consistent pattern of throwing our entertainers out the moment that they do something that we don't necessarily agree with. And again, not condoning the video. I think it should not have been made. And if you're gonna make it, you could have made it way better. Make the PSA the focus of the video. Put some lighthearted moments in there to get the message out. True enough, because I think honestly, if their video was done better, it would make way more sense than the "That's My Boy" thing done by Adam Sandler, because he just made it to have you laugh at honestly a really ridiculous and terrible situation. Whereas this PSA was made to make you laugh, but also address a very serious topic. Now, that said, I'm not gonna go too long. I'm gonna leave you guys with that. But I appreciate you guys, man. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you disagree with any of the points made, let me know your take, man. Is it a double standard situation where men are treated objectively or not taken seriously in these situations? Is it a series of it is about race and them condemning black celebrities at a higher rate than they do other celebrities? I don't know. I know my take on it. I gave it to you guys. I appreciate if you give your opinions back. In the meantime, man, I hope you guys, if you liked it, like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. If you didn't, tell me why in the comment section. We can have a chat about it, man. Let's be civilized and have a great discussion. At the end of the day, aren't you glad I said it? Peace.